And welcome to Thanksgiving week for Turntable Tuesdays.
Yes, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we're actually recording this one during the day, so the lighting isn't bad. And it's kind of cold, so I'm wearing the bandana because it keeps my ears warm.
And I'm wearing my jacket
Yeah,
because I'm an old man. And I get cold easy.
yeah. Well, honestly, this house has been cold. But anyway, so today's album is Stevie Nicks' first solo album, Belladonna. Now, this album has definitely become quintessential in its own right. Of her solo tracks that really became hits, there's only one that I can think of. Of her stuff that was specifically solo that she never recorded with Fleetwood Mac. I can only think of one song in particular that isn't on this album, and that's Stand Back.
Yep.
Which they have like two different music videos for because they never released one of them. I guess somebody had an issue with the story the video was telling or some shit, but...
What's that mean?
It means corporate music control sucks, is what it means.
Well, yeah.
And that's why we're trying to break that mold.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that is a story for a different day. So yeah, this was her first solo album. It was done after her third album with Fleetwood Mac, which was not the third Fleetwood Mac album.
No, God, no.
There were actually several, two or three before her and Lindsay joined the band?
Yes. Easily, yeah.
Yeah, but her third album with Fleetwood Mac was Tusk. And they had recorded and done the tour for Tusk. And she had some of these songs that she had recorded, various demos and stuff. And after the tour for Tusk, she had a break. About a year and a half. So she decided to get some of the friends that she had in the music industry together and put this album, put the album together itself.
Yes?
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to add something there. So, the two big appearances on this album, the two major noted named appearances on this album are Don Henley.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Are Don Henley and Tom Petty. Bless you.
Thank you.
Tom Petty was actually co-producer. And that led into his guitarist, Mike Campbell, actually wrote Stop Dragging My Heart Around. It's the only song on the album that, as far as the credits are listed, that Stevie didn't have anything to do with the music.
Mm-hmm.
And he also played guitar on a couple things. And Tom Petty's drummer appeared on one of the tracks.
Yes. He didn't do anything. He just appeared.
Yeah.
No, he was playing drums.
As well as some other things. Don Henley played drums on a couple of tracks, as well as being the other vocal on Leather and Lace.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Petty was the other vocal on Stop Dragging My Heart Around. And just the number of people.
That guy.
Yeah. Duck Dunn.
Yes.
Was
Donald Duck. Yes.
Was on this album. And there are a couple other notable musician contributions to this album. Wikipedia has them listed if you want to go look up the album and see what those are.
Find it yourself.
Yeah. I'll link the Wikipedia article in the description so you guys can go look up a little bit more information. But, this album was huge and basically gave Stevie Nicks confirmation that she could have a career outside of Fleetwood Mac. Because up to that point, I think the only other thing besides Fleetwood Mac that she had been involved in that was released was Buckingham Nicks.
Buckingham Nicks, yeah, as far as I know. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, she was, they were both young then,
Yeah.
very young. So, yeah, they started out with Buckingham Nicks, and that really didn't go too many places.
One album, no, it didn't.
But obviously, Fleetwood Mac did,
Yeah.
because she would have started with, it wasn't Rumors. It's the one before that.
I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
don't have that pulled up right now, but yeah, there were but yeah, this was Tusk, and I think, did she leave before Lindsay the first time? Or did Lindsay leave
Leave.
Fleetwood Mac?
I honestly don't remember her ever leaving Fleetwood Mac.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but
I think they both did at some point.
Okay.
But then everybody got back together
yeah.
for the dance
Mm-hmm.
and stayed together for a little while. And then Christine left again. And they did
Right.
Say You Will. And then just, what was it, about 5-6 years ago, Christine came back.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, they kicked Lindsay out of the band.
Yes, it was the Buckingham Kicks at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Anyway, back to this album. This basically gave her confirmation that she could have a career outside of Fleetwood Mac. The audience was actually responding to everything. And there were 4 singles off of this album. Now, I didn't write down the dates, but I do have them in the order they were released. Stop Dragging My Heart Around, which I think came out before the album. I think that was the lead single.
May have, yeah.
Yeah, and that was Tom Petty featuring Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So I guess that was basically his full band. Leather and Lace, which was the one that had Don Henley as co-lead vocal. Edge of 17, which is probably her, even though at the time it didn't reach as high, probably her most well-known song to date. And as she noted, the special edition of her Ultimate Hits that I have has a live video of the final, well, it was the final song of the final night of the Belladonna tour, and it's Edge of 17, and off of, that song became her set ender, and it has been ever since. She, barring playing with Fleetwood Mac, because as he and I were discussing before we started recording, unlike the Eagles, to the best of my knowledge, Fleetwood Mac has not incorporated anybody's solo stuff into their set. And I get it, and Fleetwood Mac has enough material. Granted, the Eagles do as well.
But, yeah, the Eagles are, I think there's 2 very different train of thoughts in the band. The Eagles had very much pushed everybody being creative as far as their songs. With Fleetwood Mac, it was more of a journey together. Okay, we did these, even though you wrote it, we did these songs together. We made these songs, and I think they all agree with that. With the Eagles, it was a little different. Like one, you've got Joe Walsh, who already had
a hell of a solo career and a hell of a reputation.
Yes, he did.
Before he joined the Eagles.
Well, to be selected for the Eagles.
Solo career.
Yeah. No, he was with. He started with James Gang.
Yeah.
And then went solo.
I was gonna say, I guess he did have a couple of solo albums before Hotel
Yeah,
California
he did.
came
Yes.
around.
Yeah. So, and that, and J.D. Souther was a big part of the Eagles, and he also had a solo career, not quite as prominent or illustrious as the Eagles, but he was a hell of a writer.
Yeah.
you know, and songs before the Eagles, when you're only lonely, just sticks in my mind. Of course, I'm old, so, but uh, that's just an offshoot to the Eagles. I like the idea of that Fleetwood Mac is just using the songs that they did, simply because it is a team effort, if you would.
Yeah.
It kind of keeps you a little bit more humble.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if, because I haven't looked up the history, I don't know if any stuff that any of them recorded when they were solo or in other projects
Mm-hmm.
then got re-recorded by Fleetwood Mac. Like Landslide, I don't know if the original recording was Fleetwood Mac or if that was her.
Right, I'm not sure.
But, it... Okay, Landslide, if it was her, well, they re-recorded it and did it with Fleetwood
I
Mac.
was gonna say,
That's...
I've seen performances of that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that's one... Because I don't know how much... I know there's some Fleetwood Mac that she does in her set.
Yeah.
And Landslide obviously being one of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think there's a whole lot. I think, like, maybe Landslide, Rhiannon,
Mm-hmm.
a couple of the bigger, really well-known ones.
The ones that people want to hear Stevie Nicks do.
Right.
Yeah.
Um...
And that's, but going back to the album Belladonna, if you, and today was like the first time I've really listened to a lot of the songs, or at least parts of them. And the one thing that stood out to me was, other than the ones with, like, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, Leather and Lace, and Edge of 17, other than those three, and maybe the fourth one, well, even that one,
After the Glitter Fades.
After the Glitter Fades, yeah.
That was the fourth single that was released, and it was still on the Billboard charts, but compared to the others, the next lowest of the four hit number 11. After the Glitter Fades only hit number 32.
Now, what I had noticed, though, was just listening to snippets of the songs was not Stevie Nicks' songwriting, because I've always been impressed with that. But with this particular album, she took different directions. Like, I was hearing parts of 60s soul, and once again, she's as old, if not older. She's in my age range, anyhow. There was 60s soul, there was 70s, 80s, pop and rock. There was also country thrown in there, but she kind of landed across the board on that, just in the music that she used for her songs.
She's older than you.
Yeah?
She's 7 years older than you.
Ooh.
Yeah, not that you would be able to tell. Now, granted, the picture that they have of her on Wikipedia is from 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, not that you'd be able to tell she was almost 70 at that point.
Right.
She's 74.
Yeah.
She was born in 48. She's 74. And no, she's not as young as she once was, but...
She's a good-looking 74.
Yeah,
yes.
I'd call late 50s, maybe going on 60, not almost 70 in that picture. So, and that's also like celebrity late 50s, so still...
Right. But be that as it may, I mean, for those of us who grew up or in our 20s and 30s went, wow, okay, and she can sing too.
Yeah.
And that did make a difference. It's she knew how to use her, and I don't want to say sexuality, but her femininity.
Yeah, well, she's a hippie child, and that's
and that
And I
that
say
was
that
obvious.
in
No,
the best way
yeah,
possible, not just as a guy,
mm-hmm.
but no, she was very much
Yeah,
a not an out there, oh my god, hi hippie child,
but a
but
child of the '60s, very
yeah,
much.
yeah,
Yes.
definitely. Um, and I think she's even said in interviews that part of her voice and why her voice is a little raspier
Mm-hmm.
or now is, and this is a complete side note not related to the album, is from years of cocaine abuse.
Yes. Well,
She
cocaine and
actually,
others. Yeah.
yeah, well, she said she has a hole in her nose.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
and I
Yes.
don't know if it's nostril to nostril or if it's like back into her
Yeah.
sinus cavity, but she has a hole in her nose from the cocaine abuse.
Yep. Yeah.
Don't do drugs, kids.
Okay.
At least don't do heavy drugs,
Yes.
kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that.
God, you said that, and I just went to the movie.
Uh-huh.
Don't say fuck no, never say fuck no.
Okay.
Completely unrelated, and you see.
But
where my
that
mind
is one of the dangers, if you will, of you know, being a rock star.
yeah, that and that level of stardom, especially at the
Yeah.
time.
Yes, it was. Yeah, it was. And there's still some of that out there. If you want to fit in, totally. The alcohol and or the drugs are almost necessary, and it's probably why I don't fit in.
Yeah.
Because I don't do either.
I just
I
don't
look
like,
old simply because I'm old.
I just don't like people. Like yes, I drink not heavily and certainly not heavily in public because I don't like being. I don't like being drunk. Okay, getting a little bit of a buzz is fine. I don't like being drunk. Certainly don't like being drunk in public around a bunch of people that I don't fucking know.
Even people you do know, we don't like you being drunk.
Yeah, and I don't like being, because I've only been like gone drunk a couple of times, and I don't enjoy that.
Yeah.
Drink a little bit, get a little bit of a buzz going. I'm good.
So now that we've exposed our demons or our lack of demons,
Yeah, that's
lack of demon. Yeah.
Don't do drugs. You don't need
Yes.
to do drugs to fit in. If you want to do a little bit of weed, drink responsibly. That's fine. Don't be going into the really hard shit. Don't do crack. Don't do
Okay.
meth.
Okay.
It's not worth it.
Now that we've done our PSA for the day,
So, well, we talk about Edge of 17, which led into this. It became her set ender, and all of her solo shows have ended with that ever since. And something in that, because it's a commentated video, she mentions it was actually written for John Lennon, which is something that prior to watching that video I didn't know. I guess she was in Australia when she got the call, or when Lennon was shot.
mm-hmm.
And as an artist and everything, I mean, just in general, and since he was shot in 1980, so that was almost a decade before I was born, so you can maybe give a little bit more insight into that event. But as she said, everybody was devastated regardless of whether you were in the entertainment industry or not.
And that's true. Even if you didn't like the Beatles or the way that or John and Yoko together, or you knew that a musical force had just passed away, and music touches everybody. And if you look at Beatles music, that you at that time you were probably hearing it in the elevators. Just it was elevator music, but it was also stuff that, depending on how old you were absolutely identifying with. And then all of a sudden, it was long before you expected any of the four to pass away. Uh, One got shot simply to impress, uh, simply done to impress a woman. Uh, that was, and even before that came out, it was just one of those why. Why of all people would you shoot John Lennon?
Yeah.
You know, it's not like, yeah, we all had political views, but it's not like his were reckless or that they'd affect anything here. Uh, they just they were his own views.
Well, right,
So
and it made, even again, I was born 10 years later almost, but even looking back at it, you know, it's not like it's a political assassination.
no,
Really. You know, like the attempts on, what was it, Reagan and
Reagan,
Ford?
yeah,
The one guy who was trying to impress, God, which actress was it?
was it Christy Brinkley?
Something like that. But, yeah, like, it's, if somebody tries to kill somebody with significant power like that, and granted within music, Lennon had, I don't want to say he had power, I'm talking people with like actual authority, and with music you don't necessarily have that. Like
Influence.
yeah. Yeah, it's just okay. Yeah, the iPad that does our timing is tied to
Oh,
my account, so I get the notifications. Anyway,
okay.
yeah, but if you did, you know, if, and this is not any statement against anybody here. Somebody, if you're gonna go in the music industry, if somebody would try to shoot, or if somebody would have shot Clive Davis or something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would at least understand the reasoning more.
And yeah, well, yeah, because he, right, that was a control
Yeah,
thing, but with Lennon, he's more professing and professing peace, and there was a lot of that kind of almost hippie movement, the Maharishi movement at that time, just uh, calming movements, if you would. So, yeah.
a lot of the same feeling that I get off of a lot of Stevie Nicks stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and even Fleetwood Mac, but particularly the
Yeah.
stuff that she sings. You know, very, very similar feeling.
Yeah.
The only thing I will say is, out of the two, Lennon probably worded it more that the average person
Yes, agreed.
could understand it. But
Yeah, he didn't mince words much.
no,
And
working class hero. He
right.
did not mince
But-
fucking words.
but there were I saw a whole lot of tears that day, and afterwards for a couple of days, just people that just couldn't believe that something like this could be done. Well, I mean, it's if you lived through it, you it didn't start with Kennedy, but in our lifetime, it was like Kennedy, and then there were more attempts at assassination and assassinations as you went down the line, and so much more today, and we won't even go into that. We're talking about Stevie Nicks here,
and albums, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just, that kind of thing. The way that, as far as an artist goes, you've had Bowie and Prince in
Mhm.
recent memory. Of those were both within, what, a year or so of each other?
Okay.
Or they
Yeah.
might have been the same year. I think
Yeah.
it was like 2014, 2015 was like Bowie, Prince, Alan Rickman, all of that.
Right.
Uh,
But they died.
Yes,
Yeah.
they died. Well, so did Lennon after
Yeah, I
getting shot.
know, but I mean, he wasn't. They weren't killed.
No,
Okay.
they weren't killed, which just adds to that. But to to provide a little bit of a area on where I'm going here, how much people were affected by them dying, and I mean no disrespect to either of them, but as far as overall pop culture,
Hmm.
neither of them were overly high relevance at the time of their death. Yes, Bowie had just released an album.
It doesn't matter. I mean, both of them affected a lot, and they affected different people than maybe we were looking at. I was not a Bowie fan, but you had to, or a big Prince fan, but at the same time, uh, if
I've
you're
become a little more of a Prince fan
yeah,
since.
if you're a musician or anybody in the field has to say, okay, you have to admire the talent, you have to admire the genius behind these people.
Right,
Uh,
and
yeah.
well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's what I was
Yeah,
basically
and
what I was
that's
going to say.
Lennon was kind of the same way, but he one was killed, not just died. He was
Yeah,
killed,
yeah,
and in an era where music was tying a lot more people together
it was.
in general, like anymore. And this isn't me disparaging current music trends or anything like that. There are certain parts of it that I would, but that's not what we're here about. Uh, there are, you know, without disparaging certain, like I said, certain music trends. It's the music doesn't tie everybody together anymore like it used to. I mean, there's actually that one Zitz comic that I think you guys gave me or something, and it was all the kids hanging out at the house listening to their iPods, and then they're all on the phone, but their phones are out on speaker, and the dad goes, "You remember when?" Oh yeah, you guys did give this to me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do you remember when music was shared and phone calls were private? And the mom's like, "Shh, they can sense irrelevance."
Yes, but it's not irrelevant. Yeah, that is true. You used to if you got a new album,
Mm-hmm.
uh, sit down with 3 or 4 friends or 5 or 6 and say, "Hey guys or girls,
And
you need to hear this."
yeah,
And
and depending on what circles you were, passing around a joint,
right,
whatever.
yeah, it's but it was all to bring you together. I mean, uh, yeah, the joint, helped that at the time, but at the same time, the music did bring you together.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe she was, uh, with this album, she was trying to reach as many of those little uh, niches or little areas, and they're not so little, but as many of those areas as possible. Like I said, there was some country in it that is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely identifiable as country. One song started out, and I was just right away taken back to the '60s, and like I said, '60s R&B and soul. Uh, you know, several other ones. Okay, you've got Henley in one of them, so
Yeah.
it evokes a memory of the Eagles. You've got Petty in one, and so you've got a different rock. It's not a
Yeah.
different rock genre, but uh, the rock the rock is there.
Yeah.
The one thing that I did notice that it's not necessarily a negative, but it's definitely out of the ordinary, because if you listen to the 3 songs that we've noted especially, uh, you know, Stop Dragging My Heart Around, Leather and Lace, and Edge of 17, they've all got incredible background vocals
Mm-hmm.
and backing vocals. But the several of the other ones I was really a little disappointed in the fact that there was the background vocals were exactly that. There was no emotion coming out of the background. Nothing, where the volume came up a little bit because this one was singing, just for that reason or for the emotion or for the moment. They were just done because that was what was supposed to be sung at that time. And that, having done more live performances than a few people, anyhow, I tend to get, I can get my emotions high on when I'm singing. There are some times when I'm just going, okay, we're going to do this song. People like this song. Let's try to get into it. But if you're not really, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
I can't always put myself in that place that, okay, here we are. We're just here for the audience. And that, truth be told, we are. But sometimes it just gets a little more personal than that.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were going to say something, Eric.
No, I was looking up a little bit of info. Because this album was the first time that, and I'm looking for where it is. This is the first time that Lori Perry and Sharon Solani, I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it, the first time she worked with them, and they've been her backing singers on tour and ever since. And there were actually a couple of songs between sessions for Tusk was actually when she was working on this, and there were two of the finished songs didn't make it on the album. One was released on the heavy metal soundtrack, and one was released on the Fast Times at Ridgemont High soundtrack.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were they?
So Blue Lamp from heavy metal,
yeah,
and Sleeping Angel from Fast Times at Ridgemont High were both completed songs from this album. And that didn't make it on the album and instead got put on those. And have been included on compilations and stuff since. But yeah, and the album spent certified quadruple platinum.
That's a lot of platinums.
In 1990. It was certified platinum less than 3 months after its release.
Okay, and I can believe that.
And in 1990 was certified quadruple platinum. Right. Spent nearly 3 years on the Billboard 200.
Right. At that time, knowing that Stevie Nicks was putting out an album, and for it to be called Belladonna, it was like, to me, that was genius. I mean, Belladonna's a poison, right? But any woman with that, okay, I don't even know how I wanted to say that, but she's got beauty, she's got brains, she's got a voice, and she's got power, right? That's a potent. Yeah. That's some potent content, and some people would think of that woman as poison.
Yeah. Well, and that's especially given the time period.
Yeah.
That's why she was. I think that's a big part of why she was such an influence. I don't even want to say feminist, because militant feminism pisses me off. But just, female empowerment. She was always not just a proponent, but she was always a big figurehead for that, because at least publicly, she has always been very much her own person.
Yep.
And, in charge of her own destiny, basically. She's always been, again, at least publicly, comfortable with who she is.
Right.
She doesn't need... strong, independent woman who don't need no man. It's...
Now,
But it's
if
true.
you do a little reading, it it's not quite that simple, not quite that cut and dried. So, for those of you who want to say, okay, you need to read a little more about Stevie Nicks, I have, and no, it's not that cut and dried.
No.
It's just like any rocker story. When you start looking behind the scenes, you go, okay, well, it wasn't necessarily that way, but uh, the the image was good,
Yeah.
and the image stayed good.
Yeah.
So the fact that she could pull off the image even while dealing with her own demons
Yeah.
is is a strength in itself.
Right.
So,
And to be honest, especially if you're any sort of significant public figure, regardless of what's going on behind the scenes, if you can present what is a positive, and I'm not advocating for hiding your humanity and hiding
mm-hmm.
what you're dealing with, but regardless of whatever you're dealing with at home and in your own life, if you can still provide a positive, I don't want to say positive role model, if you can still provide a positive image that can help inspire
Yes.
others, then that's a positive. And I mean, if this argument needs to be there, it's a big reason to keep going.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, all right. So I think we've kind of covered this,
Yeah.
and uh, this was one I was a little more prepared for, uh, and will be in the future.
Yeah.
Because one, it's a little easier when you're recording it to prepare for it. Just okay, I need to look it up, because a lot of this, it's not that my memory is that bad. It's that it's been a while, and there's been, a lot of things happen in this world between then and now, and even from 1981 to now, you're looking at 41 years. That's a long time.
Holy fuck.
Yep. Longer than you've been around.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I don't know where Eric's going with it, but I'm going to say have a great Thanksgiving.
Yep.
Be well, be happy, be safe.
Yep. And real quick before I sign off, next week we will be covering Shinedown's Sound of Madness, and we will have the Karloff Kid in here for that one, because first time I saw Shinedown was actually because he won tickets. So I didn't expect to get to be able to go, and I got a text or call, I don't remember, that morning saying, hey, you want to go see Shinedown tonight? I just won tickets. So, and this is actually going to be a big one for me and for him.
And for him, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, really, actually, yeah. I mean, I'm...
which is part of why I picked this album out of their stuff, because this album I know has quite a bit for you as well. So yeah, we ran a little bit over today, but that's fine. Next week we might actually run quite a bit over, and I'm okay with that.
Yes.
So next week will be Shinedown Sound of Madness, and make sure you join the Discord. Get more information. And go subscribe to the YouTube page. We will see you next week.
Join the Discord.